Welcome to our review roundup of the highly anticipated Springboks vs Australia rugby match at Loftus on the 8th of July 2023. In this video, we'll dive into what the experts had to say about this thrilling clash between two rugby powerhouses. The match was a reminder of why the Springboks are considered one of the best rugby teams in the world. They are a complete team, with a strong defense, a powerful scrum, and a clinical finishing touch. So let's hear what the experts had to say about the Springboks' dominant display.
Hi guys, welcome back. So we're off and running. A destruction of Australia by South Africa. The build up to the World Cup has begun, the Rugby Championship has begun, and what a dominant way to do it for South Africa, and what a terrible way to start, to be honest, for Australia. I mean, it was going to be a tough assignment for Australia, but they almost had nothing to hang their hats on right until the end, where Carter Gordon came on and showed some of his skill, creating and scoring a try at the end. So they had one thing to be thankful for, but apart from that, probably nothing else. So for South Africa, they'll be pleased with their scrum, their line out as normal, their maul as normal, but Klein was really good in the line out, the debutant there. In the scrum, it probably didn't help Australia that Kitshoff was drafted in last minute, but they pretty much destroyed them all the way through, although Australia, to be fair, were down to 14 men a couple of times. Their own fault, of course, but that has to be noted. 43-12, great start for South Africa. Watch out, world. Here they come, trying to go back-to-back in the World Cup. Australia, the only good news for them is it can only get better.
So the first game of the Rugby Championship has now ended. The South African team, 43 points to 12. And a really good game from them. Grew into the game, I think it's fair to say. The opening 15 for South Africa, although they had dominant possession and, the territory, they didn't quite, have all the pieces moving together. I did say in the preview video that with how many changes they'd made from my personal starting choice South African team, I was a bit worried maybe they'd made too many changes, this sort of mixed team, whether it was going to be too much going on. But I did think that the bench for them was much stronger, and that as the game grew on, South Africa would grow into it. They actually grew into it much quicker than I expected. Marnie Libbok, what an impact this guy made into this team. I was truly impressed. Now, in this game, Kurtley Arendse did get 3 tries, got his hat-trick, and did get named man of the match. But for me, Marnie Libbok, I thought was extraordinary. I would have absolutely given him the man of the match. But the South Africans absolutely made a superb game of this one. 3 tries for Arendse, Pieter-Steph du Toit getting over for his 2 penalty tries. Libbok on about a 60-70% kicking ratio today. Absolute boot on him. A couple of the kicks he knew as soon as he kicked it didn't go his way. But I think his general game management around the field was absolutely fantastic, and I think he's one of the real big deciding factors in why this game went that way. But congratulations to the Springboks on an incredibly dominant win with this mixed team that I'd seen comments from people saying this is a weak South African team, this is disrespectful to Australia. No. This is them mixing it up, getting ready for the World Cup and showing some depth and what they can do when all those pieces connect together. 43 points on the board, and a Springboks team looking good, and an Australian team who I'm a little bit more worried about now. We'll have to see how they do against Argentina next week, but I think a lot of teething problems for them that they're going to have to fix closer to the game.
And congratulations to South Africa. And I think if you had to kind of sum up this 80 minutes in one image, it would be the image of that girl who popped up on the screen. That was actually when South Africa were disallowed one of their tries. But that will be the face of a lot of Australians when South Africa were putting in relentless. Well, Australia just got monstered. Absolutely monstered. And it was a brilliant combination for South Africa of brute power up front. I mean, Australia just got bullied. So what do I take away from this? South Africa are very good at rugby. That's one of the big takeaways. And I was thinking about this during the game. I wasn't surprised that South Africa won. I was surprised by the margin of victory, particularly when you consider all the players that are already in New Zealand who would come in and be first choice. But I think it's important to remember that South Africa should have probably beaten France in Paris, and had they not been playing a man down for half the game, they probably would have won. And against Ireland, the world's #1 team, they probably should have won as well. they missed a load of kicks in that match against Ireland. So they are very, very good. And we knew this already, but this just confirmed it. One of the things that was odd was the way that the two teams played. And I think it shows an evolution in South Africa. Does it show a regression in Australia? Because what I saw was one team playing ball and one team kicking. And if you'd had to have guessed which team would be which, in years gone by, you would have had it the other way around. But it was South Africa playing the rugby and it was Australia kicking. And they didn't kick very well. In terms of players for South Africa that could play themselves into a World Cup spot on the back of that performance, Marco van Staden did everything he could. He was absolutely brilliant. And Duane Vermeulen was awesome. Didn't he look about 10 years younger? It was like, this is the Duane Vermeulen I remember. Of course, I can't go any longer without talking about Kurt Leorenza, who was an absolute freak. The footwork and the gas on this guy is just ridiculous, and a hat trick today. I mean, some of them were just finishing off moves, but that's the knack of a great winger, finishing when you have the opportunities. Weirdly, they got hammered. I don't think Australia were awful. I think there were some individuals that didn't play well. Quade Cooper was just basically anonymous, but then that's what you're going to get if you play Quade Cooper and then say we're going to kick it all day. Vunivalu, not a good game. Alan Alalatoa, 7A, he did not have a good game. He had his pants pulled down by Stephen Kitsap. So they've got food for thought there. But they will be better. And I guess maybe this is just, this is Eddie Jones doing what he was doing with England. He's just continuing with Australia. Eddie Jones kept saying he's going to win the World Cup with England, and England were rubbish. I couldn't come away from that game and go, oh, right, yeah, that's how Australia are going to play. Because, it was a bit tactically naive, I felt. Whereas I've got to say, South Africa really impressed me. I think, though, when it comes to a World Cup, tell me what you think. I reckon when it comes to a World Cup, we'll see much more of the kicking game from South Africa. That is just the frightening depth of South Africa. There are players playing on that field tonight for them who will not be in a World Cup squad. And they've just gone and battered Australia.
Well, folks, that was a bit of a hiding. Springboks, 43 points to 12 winners over the Wallabies. We'll go through some key events and stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts, but goodness gracious me. Lopsided, man, and geez, those South African wingers. Yeah, 43-12. That's pretty messy. But, like I said, I do think the Aussies had a few more chances that they should have taken in that first half. But the stats were pretty telling by halftime. Full-time stats, like the Boks had 63% possession. They had 684 metres to 313. They had 60% territory second half especially. 12 clean breaks to 5. Oh man, they were just cutting loose, weren't they? Penalties conceded for the Aussies is the big issue. And it was an issue under Dave Rennie as well. 13-3. 2 yellow cards to zip. You're not going to win that many games with that kind of officiating going against you. I mean, you got to be better than that. I mean, Vunivalu concedes 4 penalties on his own. For a winger, that's not right. Like sometimes you're number 7 or 6 in South Africa, getting a bit overeager at the breakdown will concede 3 or so. Maro Tojo's been known to concede 3 or 4, but your winger shouldn't be conceding 4 penalties. Goodness gracious me. Arendse gets man of the match, 3 tries, 73 metres, 4 clean breaks. Esterhuizen had 5 defenders beaten. He's a big unit. Moody didn't get on the board, but 121 metres and 3 clean breaks. Like those South African wingers, this is without bloody Colby as well. It was Vermeulen top tackler for the Boks with 8. But as I said, they didn't have to do that much defending, especially in the second half. Corumbete, 72 metres, 4 defenders beaten and a couple of clean breaks. Slipper and Ikitau both make 13 out of 14 tackles, but ultimately not the best day at the office for the Aussies. And boy, did the South Africans cut loose. So big bonus point win.
To conclude, here are some of the things that the review said. The Springboks were simply too good for the Wallabies. They were dominant in all areas of the game, and they never looked like losing. RugbyPass. The Springboks' defence was outstanding. They were relentless in their tackling, and they never gave the Wallabies any room to breathe. The Guardian. The Springboks' scrum was a major weapon. They destroyed the Wallabies' scrum, and they were able to generate a lot of pressure from it. The Sydney Morning Herald. The Springboks' finishing was clinical. They took their chances when they came, and they never let the Wallabies back into the game. ESPN. Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know your favorite moments from this epic encounter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all things rugby. Stay tuned for more exciting content coming your way.